The downside of pollution is that it can cause cancer, lung disease, and other health problems. Luckily, the government has made strides in recent years to ensure that we are all doing our part to reduce the amount of pollution in the air. If you want to make sure that you are taking care of your body and the earth, try going for a walk outside or riding your bike to work. As the world becomes more polluted and we continue to grow in population, the adverse effects of pollution are becoming more obvious. Air pollution is a major concern that is causing many health problems. Pollution is a very important topic that many people are starting to become aware of. Pollution can have a lot of different effects on people, animals, and plants. Some of the effects pollution has on people are bad breath, eye irritation, and skin irritations. The effects pollution has on animals are related to how the animals breathe and their ability to reproduce. The effects pollution has on plants are related to how they grow and their ability to reproduce. Pollution is everywhere, but not all pollution is created equally. Some types of pollution cause the environment to become unhealthy, while others can even be good for the environment. Pollution has a lot of negative effects, but some of the effects may be positive. For example, pollution might cause a decrease in biodiversity, or it may have a positive impact on human health. The effects of pollution vary depending on what type of pollution you are talking about. Pollution is a huge problem that affects the health of our planet. It has been linked to a number of diseases and illnesses, including cancer, asthma, and Alzheimer's disease. The effects of pollution have been felt in every corner of the world, and it can be seen in the water, air, and soil. People who live near factories or industrial plants are at an increased risk for developing these diseases. With all of the pollution around us, it is important to know what the effects are of living in such a polluted environment. Pollution is the introduction of contaminants into an area that can have a negative impact on the natural environment and human health. Some of the effects of pollution include a change in the ecosystem, the decrease of biodiversity, the release of toxic chemicals into the air, soil, and water, the production of acid rain, the production of smog, a depletion in water quality. Pollution is a problem that affects our planet and the people who live on it. It is so important to keep our air clean and our water safe for us and the animals that live around us. Pollution is a problem that can have many negative effects on our health, but there is also a downside. Pollution can lead to the creation of smog, which can cause respiratory problems and other diseases. Pollution is a big problem in today's world. However, it is important to remember that pollution has a downside. It can cause a lot of damage to the environment and the ecosystem. Pollution can also cause respiratory problems and lead to many other health issues. Pollution is a big problem in our world, and the effects are only becoming more and more visible. Global warming is a direct result of pollution, and there are many other problems that it causes. One of these problems is the lack of rain, which leads to a lack of water. Pollution also causes erosion, which leads to landslides and floods. This pollution also kills animals and plants because it causes overfertilization. Pollution is a huge problem for many people around the world, especially for those who live near busy roads or in industrial areas. Pollution can be harmful to your health, so it's important to know the effects of pollution on your body. Pollution can cause respiratory issues and lead to asthma, cardiovascular problems, and cancer. Pollution is a huge problem that has been affecting the earth for many years. As our world becomes more and more crowded, pollution is becoming an even bigger problem. One of the biggest problems with pollution is that it can lead to cancer and heart disease. Pollution can also cause asthma, allergies, and other diseases that are not as commonly known. The only way to solve this problem is to make sure that you are living a healthy lifestyle and are taking care of your body. There are many ways we can help stop pollution and conserve our environment for future generations. One of these ways is to recycle. Recycling is a good way to reduce the amount of trash we create, which in turn helps reduce pollution. There are also many plants that help clean the air, but they are not always easy to find. If you have a garden, you can plant some plants that help purify the air, like lavender and rosemary. You can also find plants in your local park or greenhouse that have the same effect. We can all do our part to help stop the effects of pollution. We can reduce the amount of plastic we use, recycle as much as possible, and even take shorter showers. It is important to keep in mind that every little bit counts and together we can make a difference. Let's face it, we're living in an age of pollution. We're surrounded by air pollution, water pollution, and food pollution, but how can we stop it? There are a few ways you can start taking steps to be more eco-friendly. One way is to recycle your plastic bottles and aluminum cans so that they can be turned into new products. Another way is to buy products with less packaging so that you can reuse the packaging for other purposes. One of the easiest ways to stop pollution is by recycling. Recycling helps us avoid using resources that are not renewable or polluting. There are different types of recycling and some are more environmentally friendly than others, but it is still important to recycle. Another way to stop pollution is by avoiding products that contain harmful chemicals. This includes not buying products that have been tested on animals and buying products with no added chemicals. The best way to stop pollution is by being conscious of the impact we are having on the environment. We can take some simple steps to stop pollution. Pollution has become a major issue globally. It is never too late to make changes for the betterment of the planet. Pollution is the cause of a lot of issues like asthma, cancer, and other diseases. So, if you want to improve the air quality and stop air pollution, here are some steps that you can take. How much do you know about air pollution? Well, not much, right? In this article, I will list some of the most important things you need to know about air pollution and how it affects you. And how do you know if you're breathing in harmful levels of air pollution? The Environmental Working Group's Air Pollution Report Card is a handy tool for testing where you live and how much pollution you may be breathing in. You can see the cleanest cities, regions, and states, as well as the most polluted locations. You'll even have an idea of which pollutants are most harmful to your health. The report card is updated yearly, and you can see how your city air pollution is a serious problem in the U.S. and around the world. It's responsible for millions of deaths every year, and it's also a growing business for some companies. There's a lot of money to be made, and many companies are taking advantage of that. There are many ways to measure air pollution, and scientists are even trying to predict when and where it will be the worst. So, what can you do? If you're spending more time indoors than out, you may be breathing in dangerous levels of air pollution, a new study suggests. Researchers at the University of California, San Diego found that people who spend more time indoors are exposed to more air pollutants. They found that the unhealthy air was worse in urban areas than rural ones. The researchers also found that people who are exposed to higher levels of air pollution are at a higher risk of developing cancer and cardiovascular. The world in the future was a desolate place. The air was thick with smog, and the sky was always an ominous shade of gray. The water was toxic and the land was barren. The human race had been dealt a devastating blow, and the only thing left to ponder was how long can we live if the pollution does not decrease. The answer seemed bleak. Our air, water, and soil were all heavily polluted, and the effects were beginning to show in our population. People were developing cancer and other illnesses at an alarming rate. The death toll was rising and the future seemed grim, but all was not lost. Scientists and environmentalists had been hard at work trying to come up with solutions. That I remember the day when I was a child and I could look out of my window to see a beautiful blue sky. There were no clouds, no smog, no air pollution. I remember being able to go outside and actually breathe, without having to worry about the toxins polluting the air, but now, it is a very different story. So much of our air has become so polluted that I find myself having to wear a thick mask whenever I go outside. The air has become so bad that I can barely breathe the air, and it has started to take its toll on my health. The sad part is that it looks like this is the way it is going to be if the pollution does not decrease. The world is facing an environmental crisis due to pollution. As the population rises, so does the amount of waste that is produced. The effects of pollution are far-reaching, with many detrimental effects on the environment and human health. One of the best ways to stop pollution is to reduce the amount of waste we produce. We can do this by using fewer single-use plastics, buying items with less packaging, and recycling more. Additionally, we can start using eco-friendly products whenever possible. This includes investing in reusable items such as water bottles, bags, and straws. Pollution is a serious problem. It can damage our environment, cost jobs, and contribute to public health concerns. There are many ways we can stop pollution from happening, but it takes effort and cooperation from everyone involved. Here are a few tips to help you start making a difference. Pollution is one of the most serious environmental issues facing our world today. It's caused by a variety of factors, from cars and factories to oil spills and deforestation. There are many ways we can help stop pollution, but it will require everyone working together. The first step is to understand the problem. The world is facing an environmental crisis due to pollution. As the population rises, so does the amount of waste that is produced. The effects of pollution are far-reaching, with many detrimental effects on the environment and human health. One of the best ways to stop pollution is to reduce the amount of waste we produce. We can do this by using fewer single-use plastics, buying items with less packaging, and recycling more. Additionally, we can start using eco-friendly products whenever possible. This includes investing in reusable items such as water bottles, bags, and straws. We can also reduce air pollution by switching to renewable energy sources, such as solar and wind. This is becoming increasingly affordable, and the long. If you're like us, you want to breathe the cleanest air you can get your hands on. You want to make sure that your air isn't suffocating you. You want to make sure that you're not getting in your lungs any harmful toxins or chemicals. If you want to breathe the cleanest air possible, you need to know how to identify the levels of harmful toxins and chemicals in the air. You need to know, air pollution is a major concern for both humans and nature. It can have serious consequences for both people and the environment. And it's something that we need to vigilantly watch for. In this article, we're going to take a look at some of the most important repercussions of air pollution, and what you can do to help lower your risk. First and foremost, air pollution can cause health problems. Not only can it increase your risk of illnesses like asthma, but it can also lead to heart disease and other serious health conditions. Second, air pollution can damage ecosystems. It can mess with the way plants and animals live. And it can cause reductions in crop yields and animal populations. Finally, air pollution is a major global problem. It can cause serious health problems, lead to climate change, and damage property. There are many ways to reduce air pollution, but it takes concerted effort from everyone to make a difference. By learning about the sources of air pollution, you can take steps to help improve your environment. We have all heard of the dangers of pollution and its effects on the environment, but what can we do to stop it? The first step is to understand the sources of pollution. The most common sources of air pollution are burning of fossil fuels, vehicle emissions, industrial activities, and use of household products such as aerosol sprays. Water pollution is caused by industrial discharge, agricultural runoff, and raw sewage. Soil pollution is caused by the use of synthetic fertilizers, hazardous waste, and sewage. Once we understand the sources of pollution, we can take steps to reduce our impact. We can limit our use of fossil fuels and switch to clean energy sources such as solar, wind, and geothermal. The world has come a long way in recent years in terms of implementing technologies to stop pollution. These range from the simplest to the most sophisticated. On the simpler end of the scale, there are technologies like pollution control devices for vehicles. These devices involve filters and catalytic converters that reduce the amount of pollutants released by combustion engines. Catalytic converters are fitted to exhaust pipes to break down the pollutants into less harmful substances before they enter the atmosphere. On the more advanced side, there are technologies like air scrubbers and scrubber systems. These involve filters that remove pollutants from emissions produced by industrial processes. The scrubbers are usually fitted to the exhausts of industrial processes and they capture and remove pollutants. The world in the future was a desolate place. The air was thick with smog, and the sky was always an ominous shade of gray. The water was toxic and the land was barren. The human race had been dealt a devastating blow, and the only thing left to ponder was how long can we live if the pollution does not decrease. The answer seemed bleak. Our air, water, and soil were all heavily polluted, and the effects were beginning to show in our population. People were developing cancer and other illnesses at an alarming rate. The death toll was rising and the future seemed grim, but all was not lost. Scientists and environmentalists had been hard at work trying to come up with solutions that I remember the day when I was a child and I could look out of my window to see a beautiful blue sky. There were no clouds, no smog, no air pollution. I remember being able to go outside and actually breathe, without having to worry about the toxins polluting the air, but now, it is a very different story. So much of our air has become so polluted that I find myself having to wear a thick mask whenever I go outside. The air has become so bad that I can barely breathe the air, and it has started to take its toll on my health. The world is facing an environmental crisis due to pollution. As the population rises, so does the amount of waste that is produced. The effects of pollution are far-reaching, with many detrimental effects on the environment and human health. One of the best ways to stop pollution is to reduce the amount of waste we produce. We can do this by using fewer single-use plastics, buying items with less packaging, and recycling more. Additionally, we can start using eco-friendly products whenever possible. This includes investing in reusable items such as water bottles, bags, and straws. We can also reduce air pollution by switching to renewable energy sources, such as solar and wind. This is becoming increasingly affordable.